comes down to this as Miami plays host to the 2018 Spring Finals. And today, one team will lift the trophy, hang a new banner in the studio, and potentially start a new legacy, while the other team falls just short. 100 Thieves are all smiles as they enter the Fillmore to cheers of fans not long ago, and they'll be facing off against Team Liquid and Double Lift, who were welcomed by this electric crowd, and that squad will no doubt want to pick up their first NALCS championship and deliver for fans who have supported them all year long. Once again, we are in that Fillmore with this crowd that has been going wild since we made our entrance. I'm excited to say that Miami has played a beautiful host to our tournament so far. We got a best of 5 here to determine the newest of NALCS champions. Hello and welcome to the NALCS Countdown, where for 30 minutes we go through the journey each team has taken until the timer reaches zero, and we jump into Champion Select. We also have Azael joining us for the first time this split on the analyst desk.
Thank you for having me.
We subbed out Zyrene. How has Miami treated you so far?
Incredible, man. The food has been great. The fans have been great. And hopefully we're going to get 5 great games today.
We had a quick series yesterday. Yeah, Europe had a quick series today. Mark, I think ours might be a little bit more competitive.
I hope so. It's been a little bit fast for some playoff games, and I would like to see a very back-and-forth series, kind of like we saw in the semifinals.
Yeah, Jad, I'll get to you later. All right, now the two teams competing for a crown today ran through a bracket where old favorites came up and fell short and to the wayside. Along the way, 100 Thieves took down the Kingslayers, Clutch Gaming, while Team Liquid delivered to their fans as they took down Cloud9 and Echo Fox. With the NALCS title, today's winner will also earn 90 championship points and a trip to MSI.
Yeah, and aside from just going to MSI, when you do get the 90 points and have that for spring, usually that means you're going to Worlds. Like, so often the winner of the spring split has enough points after summer to qualify via most championship points. So again, just even more importance on this final today.
And again, a new org will be representing us internationally at MSI. We'll see how they do. For our series, though, today, we're going to send it down to Avali, who gauged Coach Kane's confidence ahead of his series.
Thanks, Dash. I did just get finished speaking with Kane, who is incredibly confident coming into this match. He says that all of his players don't think, but know that they are the strongest team in NA right now. And a lot of that strength is coming from their communications, where they believe that they are superior in as well. A lot of their practice this week focused on mainly improving their good habits and focusing on all that teamwork and coordination. They know that 100 Thieves is going to be a really tough opponent, and they know that they don't make too many mistakes. But when it comes to snowballing, macro, and team fights, Liquid can't be beat. Back to you.
It's so hot in here, my glasses are fogging up, so I'm going to go ahead and take them off. It's going to make it easier to read. But while this is the first final for these two orgs, the success of the players competing today cannot be overstated.
I mean, there's a tremendous amount of history of experience among these two teams. We have 5 players returning to the finals. There's pieces of Immortals roster last year, and honestly, a lot of the members of the old CLG.
But the thing is, they're all blown up now because so many members of that Immortals team ended up on Team Liquid, whereas Cody's son got picked up by 100 Thieves. So not only is it similar players, but they're on different sides of the rift.
Yeah, 2 new orgs, a lot of experience, and also when you look at Double Lift lining up for Team Liquid, he has the opportunity to not only win his 4th NALCS title, but win on his 3rd unique team. He's currently the only player to have won NALCS titles with 2 different teams. There will be players that join him in that today, but he has that chance to win on a 3rd different team, which would just be remarkable.
I mean, again, yes, the years of experience on this stage is phenomenal. The caliber of player as well. And so then again, it just feels like such a close series.
Yeah, so it's the fact that no one's actually won on 2 different teams yet. So Aframu's trying to kind of start catching up to Double Lift a little bit here, but right now he's kind of in a league of his own in terms of getting teams into these finals.
I mean, and again, I got to wonder what that feels like, right? You're sitting across the stage from somebody that you played with for a championship. I mean, on CLG, they both got their first title together, and now they're competing against each other today.
And it's so interesting, you know, hearing Aframu yesterday as he accepted the MVP award, talking about he spent 5 years with CLG. This is his first split with 100 Thieves. They're making a name for themselves, and you know, to start that off with a championship is incredible.
Without a doubt. Now, to hear more about the paths that these teams took to get here, let's send it over to Captain Flowers, Kobe, and Zyrene, who will be bringing you the cast in not too long.
Thank you, Dash, and thank you, Miami, for bringing the sunshine to the Sunshine State. I'm joined here by Sam, Kobe, Hartman, Kinsler, and Aiden Zyrene Moon to bring you guys this finals bout. Gentlemen, it is going to be a fun one.
Oh. So excited.
I'm absolutely excited to be here. Miami's been fantastic, and I am ready for these 2 games, or these 2 teams to go up against each other.
It should definitely be a lot of fun to see these guys go head-to-head, and each of these teams have made the run and are now within striking distance of starting their own legacy.
Yeah, and you think back 6 months ago, this was not an expected finals here as the matchup. If you go back in the NALCS, 6 months ago, 100 Thieves didn't exist as an organization. Team Liquid did exist, but they were 9th place and they were in relegation.
Yeah, I mean, 100 Thieves specifically, if we start with them, they have already accomplished a remarkable amount for a brand new organization. They finished first place in the regular season, and specifically the second half of that split, they went 9-1 as far as their record.
Only dropping one game to Team Liquid, who they're up against here in the finals. But that 9-1, this playoff run for 100 Thieves has been off the back of fantastic performances from the MVP Afromu and Meteos really stepping up with that veteran status as they had 5 games up against Clutch.
Exactly. Although it is a brand new organization, they have plenty of veterans sprinkled in with the new talent like Cody Sun, who has been a remarkable North American AD carry. Now, if we move on to Team Liquid, as you said, they had their worst year ever last year. Back-to-back 9th place finishes. But because of some of the biggest off-season moves we have ever had, there was a new hype train that started around this team.
Exactly. Worst year in TL history last year, where the 4th memes, they were hoping to get to the 4th place. 9th back-to-back, like you said. But now, in the finals, they've already started off 2018 as the best year that they have had to date. So far, they've crushed Cloud9 and Echo Fox, who were the #1 and 2 teams throughout most of the regular season.
Just remarkable. And we have to see, Impact there on stage. That's one of the parts of the discussion where people are talking about the meta fitting Team Liquid perfectly right now. It feels like everything has come together for the success of this team, with Impact tanks on the top side, Doublelift on the bottom, playing through that bottom lane, and we're going to have to see it on stage.
And Doublelift, a 39 KDA coming into playoffs here. He has only died twice throughout their 7 games.
We're all caught up on what's brought us up to this point. I know I'm excited to see which of these teams are going to be walking away with the trophy here today. But for now, back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Flowers. Now, leading into this match, we did a deep dive into both teams' draft priorities and how the questions surrounding them could determine today's winner.
Yeah, and the teams are fairly similar in the way they do play the game. They play a lot around bottom lane. They have mostly played tanks in the top lane. And throughout the semifinals and the quarterfinals, they were specifically banned in a few key instances. So I think there's 4 questions we can hone in on to try and figure out exactly how these teams will be drafting. And the first one is a bottom lane question. With Zyracon being such a high priority, are both teams okay matching with Caitlyn and Morgana? And the answer to that kind of dictates the bans a little bit.
Yeah, and you kind of go down a rabbit hole once you answer that first question, because both teams also played a lot of Caitlyn versus Ashe in their series, and Doublelift looked great in his, where it looked pretty effective versus Apollo for side 100 Thieves. And if they're going to do that strategy again, if Doublelift stands up, does that start dropping Caitlyn's priority down if he's fine playing Ashe? And you get kind of in this deep spiral effect because of how good these bot laners are.
And it is really interesting because I do think in the quarterfinals and the semifinals, some of the reasons these teams were targeting specific areas so heavily is because there was more weaknesses there, lack of champion pool and those sorts of things. Whereas here, I think both these bottom lanes can play Zyracon, can play Caitlyn and Morgana, and they're some of the most versatile players, I think, in the league.
And while we talk about Doublelift and his performance on Ashe, we do have to look at Cody Sun. Again, this is a guy who maybe not as flashy as Doublelift when it comes to the way he plays, but the damage percentage is not something you can ignore.
Yeah, so many of 100 Thieves games did go super late where Cody Sun was really taking over in the damage, and that's also one of the reasons you see such a high kill participation percentage. Is if they had an early game lead, it was for the bot lane, but mostly they were winning through team fighting. And Doublelift has incredibly impressive numbers themselves, and some of the reasons his damage and kill participation aren't the same is because Team Liquid wins faster.
Right, and of course next to these guys are the supports, one of which is Afromu, the guy who picked up the NALCS MVP for the spring split, so it'll be fun to watch him pilot some pretty fun champions here in this split. I want to work our way through the rest of the lanes. Let's hop to the mid lane, because in that Clutch versus 100 Thieves series, Jet, that went 5 games long. We saw a lot of targeted bans at Ryu, 3 across all of the games. And so do we feel that that was an effective strategy and one that could be implemented by TL?
Yeah, specifically Ryze and Talia are the bans that were really thrown at him. And I think because Pobelter also plays those champions, whereas Febiven would prefer more of the lane focus champions, I don't think you're going to need to see that many bans because Pobelter will be okay matching it in that way, and they can spend bans on jungle and AD carry picks instead.
I think it's also interesting because it felt like 100 Thieves were ready for that focus. They had the Galio in their back pocket. They broke that one out a couple times, and it didn't stop Ryu from roaming and influencing the map.
I think one of the things that is really important to look at, though, is because of all the success 100 Thieves coming through the bottom lane, you really want to stop the other lanes from getting down there and affecting that. And that's why I think maybe Talia will still be banned away by TL because it has been a lower priority for Pobelter has been kind of more lane focused, and you definitely don't want to allow Ryu to have the shove and to go put Afromu and Cody Sun ahead.
Jump to the top side of the map, you find both of our top laners, Someday versus Impact, two of the most veteran players on the stage in terms of number of years playing League of Legends. But in this tank meta, we keep talking about how the meta kind of seems to have fallen in favor for Team Liquid. How do we think 100 Thieves might match up against that?
Well, both teams are playing a very obvious tank style in the top lane, and when Ornn is up, it feels like both teams focus that one the most. They will take that over any other top laner, just because the ability to engage without committing. The long-range Ornn ultimate allows you to start a fight without ending up in the middle of the team and having to take that fight.
It is very interesting, though, because it feels like Liquid is more locked down on only wanting to play tank versus tank, and that is why they have banned Gangplank in 6 straight games throughout the playoffs, 7 straight games even. And I do think Someday is willing to take that if it's left up, so that may restrict TL's bans a little bit if they're always going to have to take away the GP.
I mean, that leaves us with the two players roaming around in the jungle, Meteos versus Xmithie. We saw the jungle matchup be so pivotal in yesterday's 3-game series. These two guys, once again, both veterans, both been on this stage and bigger before. How do we expect them to play it out?
This is the one where there could actually be the largest difference in what they think the #1 champion is going to be. I think Meteos, as a bit of a power farmer and efficiency jungler, is the Olaf as his #1 jungle, whereas I think Xmithie might be a Trundle or a Skarner, probably the Trundle, and that's why I think we could see a few more bans in this area, because the success of Meteos, as well as the success of Xmithie, is super key in the way these teams play.
Yeah, if they have mismatched priorities, you'll see one team ban one out, one team ban the other, and then they're getting pushed down that list, and it does feel like Meteos has a little bit more depth available to him.
Yeah, I mean, Smithy hasn't played Olaf at all this season. It's not that he can't play it, but perhaps the team is not wanting to focus on that sort of a style. But I do think when the teams are trying to focus so heavily on getting their bottom laners ahead, that Olaf is sometimes a good way to do that.
All right, well, of course, with all of this laid out, best of fives always come down to how you react in the moment. And again, I know we've thrown criticism at teams throughout the playoffs for not adjusting when they need to. Again, just yesterday, you let 2 games go by without looking at a jungle pick, and that can spell disaster for you in the end.
I definitely understand not wanting to overreact, but you saw how much more stable that early game was once you remove the Olaf for the side of Clutch Gaming. So I would like to see teams not just go for the default, let's keep our strategy for the first 2 games, and start reacting right away.
And I definitely felt like the teams that played against TL and 100 Thieves were the ones that couldn't adapt, often taking 3 bans at the start of the series and running them throughout the series. These are the teams that have been here because they can adapt.
Fair enough. Well, as we gear up to watch the best of the best duke it out, we're calling upon all North American 5-mans looking for glory. Does your squad smash and flex? Do other teams dread your wombo? Then we need you and your 4 compatriots to sign up for the North American Clash Open Beta.
Hey-o.
Clash is League's newest mode, which seeds your team into a tournament bracket against squads of equal strength. Sign-ups begin April 9th, with the tournament starting April 13th. For more information, check out the landing page in the client. Tomorrow, we got 4 people on this desk. My question is, who's the 5th?
I hear Faker's not playing right now.
Hey,
Maybe he can join us.
I like
You probably want 2. I'll sit back, I'll coach you guys, but you probably want another in-game.
Right, we got the professional.
And don't worry, even if you're not smashing in flex, we need someone we can beat, so sign up.
Yeah, definitely sign up so we can smash you guys. All right, we're going to step away for a quick break. When we return, we gather our last win conditions of the spring split. These 3 predict who will be the newest champion of the North American LCS, and we kick off the opening ceremonies for the Miami final. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the NALCS Countdown with about 12 minutes to go before Champions Select. It's time to welcome our finalists to the stage.
How long do you think you can continue playing video games?
My name is Zachary Black. I ultimately want to be #1, so.
We were the kids that left home, probably too young. But we took our share, and maybe then some. Tired of beatings and battles and being sewn up. But that made us grow up, and that made him scared. 'Cause we never learned to keep our voices down. We only learned to shout, so we find a way in. And we find a way out. We are what we got from the ground up. Trying to lift the whole damn crowd. So we find a way in. And we find a way out. And there's still a kid somewhere that needs to hear this. Somebody cares. And somebody knows. Who's tired of bleeding and battered and being torn up. Just pick yourself up. It's time to go. 'Cause we never learned to keep our voices down. We only learned to shout, so we find a way in. And we find a way out. We are what we got from the ground up. And try to live the whole damn crowd. So we find a way in. And we find a way out. We find a way in. And we find a way out. We find a way in. And we find a way out. We find a way in. We find a way in. We find a way in. And we find a way out.
Hello, Miami! Welcome to the NALCS Spring Finals. Today, a new team will ascend to greatness. A new team will lift this trophy for the first time. A new team will raise their banner in the LCS studio, and a new team will represent North America at the Mid-Season Invitational. Making their NALCS Finals debut, looking to be the 4th team to hoist this trophy. Give it up for Team Liquid! Supporting the 5-man squad on stage, Coach Kane and substitute support Joey. In the top lane, former world champion and 3-time NALCS finalist, Impact! In the jungle, MSI finalist and 2-time NALCS champion, Smithy! In the mid lane, another former NALCS champion, 200 IQ, Paul Belter! In the bot lane, 3-time NALCS champion and the only reigning champion on stage today, Double And at support, returning to the finals in back-to-back splits, it's Ole! Challenging them for the championship, finishing the regular season in first place and making the NALCS finals in their debut split, 100 Thieves!
stage for picks and bans, alongside the substitute bot laner, Crawley and Rikara. In the top lane, Korean regional champion and third team All-Pro top laner and resident dunk master, it's Someday! In the jungle, returning to his 6th NALCS final, 2-time champion, Meteors! In the mid lane, world semifinalist and making his NALCS finals debut, Ryu! In the bot lane, first All-Pro AD carry, making his 2nd consecutive NALCS final, Cody Sun! At support, 2-time NALCS champion, your 2018 Spring Split MVP, the man who makes support look so easy, dude, it's Afro Moon! Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, your 2018 Spring finalists!
An incredible show of support for both of the teams as they take the stage today from the fans here in Miami. We're gearing up. We're almost there, everyone. 5 minutes to game time. So with that said, it's time to get into some win conditions. Azael, you're new to the desk, new to the countdown. I'm going to give you a shot here. Win conditions for 100 Thieves. How do you think they do it?
Well, I think it's about getting Meteos jungle priority. He is the only one in this series that is playing Olaf. I think you can either ban out Trundle and take Olaf, or you can take Trundle yourselves, get him that priority, use it to then go down to the bottom lane. The other lanes of 100 Thieves need to put that bottom lane ahead. Cody Sun is the linchpin of this team, over 40% of the team's total damage throughout the split. You put this guy ahead, he will do work, and he will bring you your championship.
And Mark, only because you asked me so nicely, I'm going to let you do Team Liquid's win conditions.
A little bit of a homer maybe for them, you know, I don't know.
Lay it on me. What do you got?
All right, so I say track Meteos. So I actually agree with Azael's point about him trying to get priority and all that stuff, but that's actually fine. If he wants to get a farm lead, if he wants to be more efficient than Smithy, go for it. But just know where he's going so he can't go down there and influence that bot lane, because you want to give Doublelift room to work. Team Liquid actually spend a fair amount of jungle proximity around the top side. And if you can pull them away, give Doublelift 2v2 room to outlane Cody Sun, I think he can do that, and that's something that can keep Cody down for the series.
Yeah, and I like how you guys have relatively similar win conditions for both teams, but also these teams excel in the mid and late game. Actually, in playoffs, both these teams average a goal deficit at 50 minutes, so they haven't been winning by smashing the early game. So much of it for these guys is about their teamwork and their team fighting.
I like it. We'll track that all series long. And just to make things a little bit more interesting, I've got another set of propositions for you guys. Over under. This time, we've switched it up a little bit. So proposition number 1, the number of triple, quadra, and pentakills. So therefore, triple or greater. We're setting the line at 2.5. What are our thoughts?
I'm going over because I think both these teams are so heavily focused on their AD carries. It's going to be about team fighting. It's going to be about these late game fights, and that's where they can pick them up.
So we're going to have a very bloody series, is what you're telling me.
Well, not necessarily very bloody, because you might just get like one late game team fight, but because, like Azael is saying, so much is the AD carries, 40% damage share. That guy's going to pick up 3 kills in the game deciding fight, I think.
Yeah, and 100 Thieves averages way below this for triple plus kills. It's like 0.08 per game, but I think specifically with the hype of the finals it usually brings, you do get more explosive team fights down the stretch.
Sounds good to me. Now, next up, Cody Sun's damage percentage across this series. We saw earlier that 40% average, so we're setting it slightly lower because of what Doublelift does to opposing ADCs.
Yeah, Doublelift's opponent's average damage percentage is 31%. So he shuts other people down. But in this one, I'm still going a little bit over because I remember the Game 5 Caitlyn that Cody Sun had in semifinals where he did like 60% of his team's damage. It just takes like one of those games, I think, to make it over.
Over again.
Azael's just blending in with us like, yeah, what they do, I want that too. He's just trying to copy the
first one to say what I did.
Did you see his was revealed first, my friend?
Or something.
I don't know. All right, the third proposition that I have for you is the fastest game time. Is it going to be over or under yesterday's slowest game time of 29-25?
I think the propensity these teams have to go to late game team fights, to play around their AD carry in that team fighting style, means you're going to have longer games. I think it's going to be over.
Yeah, I'm aligned with you once again, Isaiah.
Oh, thank you.
Big brain.
Yeah.
So you tell me not once does one of these teams just smash the other one in under 29 minutes.
It doesn't feel like that's the style that they're playing right now very much.
Yeah, well, I want to see where these graphics come down because I may have misinterpreted the question.
Did you screw it up?
I think the fastest game will be under 29 minutes and 25 seconds.
Let's reveal it.
No,
Oh, no, that's correct.
Oh,
yeah,
great.
then you're right.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Come on.
I
what you're doing
thought
out
I'd
there.
agree with Azale for all three, but I guess
No.
Perfect.
Jat's got the difference in the third proposition. Final predictions, though, is a simple one. Who do you think is going to be the newest NALCS champion? So down the line, we're crowning somebody new. Azale, who's going to be?
I think it's not as simple as it sounds. I mean, a lot of people on paper may be looking at TL, how on fire Doublelift has been, but I think it's about more than the bottom lane. I think it's about how the team works together. I'm going for a 100 Thieves victory because I think they're going to take it 3-2. I think they will be able to have a greater effect on the bottom lane. Ryu's roaming, some days team play, and Meteos getting down there with that MVP in the bottom lane and putting them ahead.
Close series, 100 Thieves gets it.
Starting
Mark?
to distance myself from Azale. I'm actually not going to agree with him here. I'm going to go Team Liquid 3-2. I think this is a very close series, like Azale was saying. I think you will see at different points in the series multiple people step up, but just how good Team Liquid have looked in the playoffs compared to how 100 Thieves struggled a little bit is my concern.
Looking at the build-up and the recency from Team Liquid to push them through. Jat, you're the tiebreaker.
I'm looking at the road Team Liquid took. 3-0ing C9, 3-1ing Echo Fox, who destroyed Clutch yesterday, whereas 100 Thieves had that 3-2 series. I'm going TL 3-1. I think their team play is real good.
Get over here.
All right, well, I think either way, the crowd is happy to see a 5-game series. I know I would be happy to see a 5-game series. So with that, we're going to toss it back over to Captain Flowers for the call.
Thank you very much, Dash. I've got to agree with you and everybody except for Jat on the desk. I'm looking for 5 games. I want to see this one go the distance, boys.
Yeah, I always love me some Silver Scrapes, especially at the live events.
Oh, especially if the games are close. Like, we had that semi-final that went 5, where it was back and forth. That one was a nail-biter. 100 Thieves able to pull it out, but now up against TL. We'll see here, but I am so excited. Picks and bans already underway.
Picks and bans starting out with targeting the supports. Such big players for both of their teams. Ole, just last year, first team all NALCS support, and this year, Aframu getting the MVP. Definitely going to change the way these team comps lay out.
And when we're looking at these bans here, we're seeing some kind of standard here. The GP, even though it's not that important for both these top laners, they don't play it that often. They favor the tanks. It affects the bottom lane. And like the desk was saying, the bottom lane is where we're expecting a lot of action.
There's a ton of focus on these bottom lanes. Both carries have done so much of the heavy lifting for their teams throughout this split. It's no surprise to see them concerned about something that might be able to tip those scales.
All right, Team Liquid throw double bans at the jungle. They follow the Trundle up with the Olaf to push down to the Sejuani Zac sort of tier that we're going to see from them. And they'll probably be picked up in the first tier of bans.
If you're going for Skarner, that's what I would expect because that's in that S+ tier still. But then, since there's 3 junglers up, you don't really have to rush it here. But if they go for that, it's like they were saying on the desk, priority for Meteos, farmer clear, or faster farm clear is a little bit better for him.
Meteos also, just as a player, specifically loves playing Skarner. He's talked about so many different aspects with this champion. He loves clearing the Raptors, as well as getting in for those Predator ganks.
A man after my own heart. Skarner picks something that I'll never criticize a team for going after 100 Thieves, locking that one in first. Like you said, it appeals to Meteos' playstyle, sets him up to be successful, and he's also been a critical part for 100 Thieves, especially in recent games, getting them where they need to be for these victories.
Meanwhile, on the other side, though, they did have to give up to Team Liquid the Caitlyn pick that we've been talking about so much, being a very high priority in both of these team strategies, especially since if you're going to pick one of those other level 6 crowd control AD carries, they're going to have to make something happen and divert the Caitlyn scaling.
Exactly, and the thing that's absent here for me that's been in almost every other pick ban, Xayah Rakan, at least a ban coming through because it's a very powerful bottom lane. And if 100 Thieves, I would expect them to go for something along those lines here, but it looks like they don't want to have mid lane banned out with a priority for TL.
Yeah, and if you don't go for it in the double pick here, then you don't want to get half of the duo. So it looks like that one probably will pass through the fingers here. Raya's very high priority though. We saw in Team Liquid series as well, Pobelter utilizing utilizing that champion very well, roaming around, and it is a huge pick for Ryu, one of his most played.
Yeah, exactly. It is his most played champion. He loves to play to the side lanes with the Taliyah, the Ryze, and Ryze goes up even further because they ban the Cassiopeia themselves.
100 Thieves will also get themselves the Tristana here. You're going up against something that can carry in the late game like the Caitlyn. You're answering with something that can do the same with the Tristana. If you watched EU earlier today, you got to see exactly what Tristana is capable of, and the Thieves would like to reproduce that here now.
All right, maybe we'll see some Reckless-S play here from Cody Sun. Early on, her range was nerfed, and it does offer a little bit more effort from him. We'll have to see, though. Pobelter not locking in the Azir means that there is huge backline reliability for Team Liquid in the late game. And this is what we've seen from them in their game plan. Standard front line, very high priority on the backline DPS.
And we talked about how Ryze is the most played mid lane champion over here for Ryu. Tied for most played champion for Pobelter is Azir, so he's plenty experienced on this. It's going to be a good matchup in the mid lane.
Yeah, and when we look at these teams playing towards the bottom side, you think of the Galio, Taliyah, the Ryze that can roam. The Azir is the one where that mid laner becomes very self-sufficient. They can take care of themselves. They can dodge ganks easily with the mobility, but you can even play around that mid lane here. And with the Sejuani alongside it, that means that Ryu may have to take cleanse very early on in this matchup because that combination becomes one where you can constantly kill the enemy mid laner with that engage range that's available to the two.
All right, going into the second part of the draft now, it's top and support that's yet to be picked for both sides here, so expect that to obviously be where the bans are going to go. We already talked about seeing some support bans, some targeting towards that Tahm Kench from Thieves. They'll also take Morgana off the table while Liquid gets rid of Cho'Gath and Thresh.
Yeah, and we've talked so much about the bottom lane that the top lane kind of has not shown up here, and yet the tanks have been incredibly important. The Ornn as well as Cho'Gath for someday. It looks like they may be willing to just trade those, as the Cho'Gath is the only ban there from Team Liquid, so Ornn rises in priority as one of the most popular top lane tanks, especially for that team fighting.
Yeah.
But Braum is kind of the cutoff.
That's pretty big. Exactly. The Braum would stop 100 Thieves from wanting to pick that. Braum is also Aphromu's most played champion. He's got 10 games on that. His next highest is Alistar with just 3. So he has jumped around, but it's mostly about protecting Cody.
Yeah, and while the Braum Unbreakable can stop the Ornn ultimate, we've still seen so many teams be willing to pick the Ornn into it anyway, so it may very well just be the case. Insta lock there. Your question has been answered.
Instant prediction, instant correct prediction. There you go. Kobe's able to call him. Easy peasy 1, 2, 3 to lock that one in on the side of 100 Thieves. And now we'll see what they decide to do in the support role. We talked about how that Braum was a big denial. So what do you go for instead? Aphromu still has plenty of tricks up his sleeve. Bard is one of those signature champions we get to see from him, but the Alistar, that second most played pick, that's the one they're going to lock in for game 1.
And this is a very forward-facing, offensive-looking 100 Thieves lineup here. They have tons of hard engage to play with. They also have the mid laner that has the possibility of going side lanes very early on, and the Tristana is an all-in AD carry that can look for those kills.
Yeah, great scaling as well. So playing for that late game, the 100 Thieves kind of MO that they've been operating with. And the Singe there for impact. He played this earlier up against Cloud9.
Now we're seeing why. Just the Cho'Gath ban there, trying to attack some days. Very, very prevalent in their last series. And Impact, once again, pulls out the Singed. He's put more practice in it, you would want to assume, than last time. He had the interview after that first game. He pulls out Singed. He's like, yeah, it's been a while, but, you know, it was a good counter pick.
Well, the team obviously has the faith in him to allow him to say, okay, let's go for this. Let's greenlight the Singe pick. We believe that he'll be able to pull this one off here in game number 1. And if he can, then that just creates another pick that your opponents have to be thinking about for the rest of the series.
Exactly, and the way that Singed approaches fights is not front to back. He usually will come in from the side or a flank and ruin your battle lines, have the ultimate on, wreak havoc, and against something like a Tristana, he has a grounded effect, so it can be very potent to actually get a carry thrown into your backline.
There are a lot of options with Singed, and a lot of them do depend on item builds because he's so flexible. You can play him as the split push annoying style that everyone knows from solo queue, and we also have seen Impact build a Righteous Glory and try and charge into the backline. Exactly.
We'll see what approach he specifically wants to go for here in game number 1 up against 100 Thieves. He's got 2 big targets in Cody Sun and Ryu. They're going to be dishing out that damage that he's got to find some kind of a way onto. But when Tristana has her disengage and Ryze can trap you up in the Rune Prison, he's going to have to be picking his moments.
All right, it all comes down to this. one series is going to be the culmination of an entire split's worth of work for both of these brand new squads.
One way or the other, we are flying a new banner in the LCS Battle Arena at the end of this one. Both of these teams want to see their colors on that new flag.
And both these organizations coming into the franchise era kind of came in and tried to make a statement. They both had something to prove. For 100 Thieves, it was proof that they need to be taken seriously as a contender for the top spot. And for TL, it's proof that they're never going to let their fans down again, because those 9th place finishes shook a lot of their fans, and they said, nope, not anymore. We're making the changes that need to be made.
Yep, that's why Team Liquid just blew up the roster, put together this squad, and they have delivered the results so far. Now they're into the enemy jungle. Aframu does see them put down the ward, though.
They'll try to clear out a little bit of that vision as 100 Thieves throw down a ward of their own at the enemy jungle on top of that spire, just to see what's going to be going around that critical junction point in enemy territory. But it looks like no one's looking to go too crazy early on here in game number 1. Slight amounts of early vision, no crazy invades, just keeping an eye where they start.
It is important to notice where the junglers are hovering right now, because if the Team Liquid bottom lane is going to go for the pull, meanwhile, Meteos, you can see, going to solo his own blue side start here. They're going to have very different jungle paths, as well as, look at the mini-map. Cody-Sun and Aframu pulling the wave right now, immediately trying to get that push down and the level 2 advantage.
Exactly, get them level 2 faster, get that push on, and so that they can actually survive this bottom lane where the Caitlyn should have a better level 1 through 4.
And that's one of the advantages that Meteos has on this Skarner. You can start without needing the leash. You can do the entire jungle by yourself if necessary because of what the spires lend to the champion. It allows the bottom lane to then be able to have that priority.
And in Team 2, you always have to track which spires they took in the level 1. Team Liquid were able to get the bottom side, but 100 Thieves did have that top side one, so when Meteos goes back up there, it'll be a bit easier.
And look at the numbers you just saw on the side of your screen. Double Lift, 37 KDA, 4-0 so far as Caitlyn during playoffs here in 2018 spring. The man has been a monster on the pick. And Impact is really going to have to respect the damage from Someday early on here.
Yeah, speaking of a monster there, Someday dealing a decent amount of damage with the Ornn. Impact trying to heal back up, though. And he does have minion dematerializers on both sides of this lane.
And you think about these two players, the last time they went up against each other, it was that new game on that patch where Someday he got Impact playing Shen into him. And then he got solo killed. And then it ended up being Impact taking over the entire game. Someday has had that in his mind because that's the one game they've lost in that second half of the split. He really wants to get Impact back for that, and you can see he's already kind of taking it to him.
Yeah, Someday definitely had, even as far as the entire season is concerned, a rough start there, but he has really had a resurgence. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, you know, Aframu on this Alistar is something that people associate with him, you know, just because of the name, but also he has the most Alistar games of any North American LCS player ever, career long.
And stylistically, the champion matches up so well for him. When you think about Aframu, you're thinking about a playmaker. You're thinking about the guy who makes things happen for the team, the one who decides, this is our engage, this is our moment, this is our fight. And Alistar's the perfect kind of a champion to enable that play style and those win conditions.
And I remember when they played against each other, Ole back in the NALCS lounge was saying he loves watching Aframu's Alistar in scrims because he'll change whichever skin he has based on how he's feeling, what face he has. Today he's got the pink chroma, so feeling a little good right now.
Ryu feeling good about the damage he's finding onto Pobelter here in the mid lane, punishing him for being just a little bit too close to that wall. And we talked about this mid lane and how these guys have both got plenty of experience on these champions. That means one little step out of place and you are going to be punished for it.
Yeah, Ryu on the rise was able to use his push early on, get enough money for his tier, then you use your teleport back for your first teleport. It does have the reduced cooldown due to Summoner's Spell, Summoner's Spellbook, and now he's going for the trades that he has the tier stacking.
Exactly, but he also has the item advantage, right? So that's when you really want to take those trades, is when the other guy has a lot of gold in his pocket that he hasn't spent on items here. So even though it is just a tier, it does amp your damage on Rise. Someday, dealing a lot of damage to Impact here, and so far he's been winning this matchup.
I feel like every time we pan up towards the top lane, we just see Someday smacking Impact around a little bit. He's building up a farm lead for himself. I mean, it's nothing that we're writing home about already. It's not GG top lane's over, but Someday seems to constantly just be eking out small advantages.
Yeah, when you're playing the Singed, you typically just kind of take the L in the laning phase, and then eventually you get to proxying later, which gives you priority on backs.
Right now, though, junglers have been attracted by all the aggression in top side. Smithy's going to make his way over.
All right, Smithy in here first, finding a little bit of damage down onto Someday, who looks to get himself away. He's going to have Meteos
Skarner's on his way
here in just a moment. Should break out into a full-on 2v2 here. Meteos has the Predator ready to go, but will not actually get in the thick of it. They decide to disengage instead.
That's still really great because Someday didn't have to burn his flash there and gets to keep it.
Yep, Meteos does arrive afterwards to even out the pressure. Smithy's still on that top side, hovering around, though, as they pop a couple of the plants. Looks like Aphromoo actually going to take a recall here in the brush. Ole and Doublelift want to punish.
Ole keeps walking up to just interrupt those backs, and this bottom lane has so far been going in favor of Team Liquid.
And right now, Doublelift and Ole having a perfect spot in front of their tower here. They're just denying Cody Sun and Aphromoo access, trying to take advantage of the huge range discrepancy between the two AD carries.
And usually you would call your jungler down here to help you clear this wave out and prevent a freeze, but because TL know that Meteos is on the top side, they know that's not an option.
Exactly. A lot of the threat of a Tristana Alistar lane comes from all in. You know, the Alistar WQ combo and Tristana rocket jumping on. But without that extra pressure, there's no more bite.
You've also got to remember, Aphromoo, no flash down here in the bottom lane means that they're also going to be more careful on the side of 100 Thieves. That means once Aphromoo goes in, there's not really a way out if you do end up getting punished. Maybe somebody else is waiting around the corner. Team Liquid recognizing that, and they're able to maintain control down here. Those numbers that we read off for Doublelift's Caitlyn earlier, you don't get those kind of numbers by accident or by luck. This guy knows how to play these types of champions and be successful.
Yeah, and he's been very successful in this game right now. If you look at the CS lead that he's been able to accrue, him and Ole consistently trying to put that pressure back. Cody Sun takes another trade there. Peacemaker landing.
This is kind of deadly here for 100 Thieves. The wave is going to slow push towards them, so you see them backing off. But then now Meteos is on the bottom side, but he is level 6 before Smithy is. So Meteos, this is the time where he would go for a gank with his flash and try to make it work.
Yeah, it's one of those Skarner advantages. Predator also should be available very soon for him as he's got his boots already. Going to hand off the blue buff first to Ryu, and he reveals himself on this ward. So once again, when you talk about slow pushes, it provides two separate things. Like, there is an amount of pressure due to a slow push, and it threatens possible dives or threatens possible objectives elsewhere on the map while the big wave is being taken care of.
And now you've got all of Liquid rotating over here, looking to take down the first Drake. Ocean Drake #1, just about 8 minutes into the game. Seeing Meteos on the top part of the map near the blue buff, that's your green light to take down.
Yeah, Meteos is going for the enemy red buff here, and you saw Impact already pulled off of the top lane minion wave, and he just went, okay, I'm going to defend the jungle. Team effort here to try and at least track Meteos and figure out where he is, like the analyst desk was saying.
Ocean Drake definitely a big one for them to pick up, especially for Impact, who's been taking a beating up on that top side. Definitely wants to make use of that regeneration.
Yeah.
Later on, it can also help Singed a lot for proxying because the minions won't take off that regeneration, and he can keep his distance from champions.
Yeah, and he's all over that regeneration. He has the Corrupting Potion. He has 2 Dark Seals already to make sure he has that extra healing from the potions. And we have a lane swap here coming through for 100 Thieves. Because they have a wave crashing bottom, they get to do another thing with this slow push and go try to make a power play.
Exactly. We have a bit of a pendulum here as the power swings back to 100 Thieves on the top side. Meteos never left after counter jungling up there.
Nobody can help Impact here. It's a 1v4 under turret.
Meteos has everything available here on the Skarner. The damage coming in, the dive going through. Impact flashing away, still looking to maybe survive. Cody Sun with the damage! And first blood to 100 Thieves.
Cody Sun finishes that off. 100 Thieves make the first move, and they are rewarded for it. Turret also going to fall. Bonus goat available.
Yeah, that turret is going down so quickly as well. And you see Smithy's on the top side of the map. He's not going to help on the bottom.
And we saw 100 Thieves go to full 5 games in the semifinals. What was it that brought this team to come out with the victory over Clutch Gaming? The macro, the shot calls, making that extra element come through, and that's what they're doing here.
The element of surprise is always something that you can leverage. It'll get you a win. It'll get you a large advantage because if they aren't expecting it the first time, it'll definitely catch them off guard. And that's TL going to have to kind of harden up and realize a lot of things can happen when the bottom lane backs. They could be anywhere.
It's always nice to see a team that's in a bad situation react with a proactive move. Cody-Sun and Aframu were getting denied CS on bottom side. Doublelift was able to accrue and hold a decent CS lead, but they make the first move, they swap out of the bad situation, they get the first blood, they get the first turret, and they've got something back for themselves.
And even though that turret count was evened up by Liquid shortly thereafter, the bonus gold from being the first ones to the trigger pull means that 100 Thieves still has about a 1,000 gold lead.
Yeah, and that gold is spread out. It's not on just Cody-Sun. He got that first blood, but he didn't get the first turret by himself. There were about 2 other people alongside him, so it was split up as opposed to just that 650 on a single guy.
And when we see plays like this, and action is now starting in this game, you have to keep in mind the overall team comps and the goals of these teams. Doublelift and Pobelt are still trying to scale up on that Caitlyn and Azir for the deadly late game team fighting. We have some extra components here around mid lane that we're looking at options, but nobody takes the aggressive look.
And there's been no swap back here from 100 Thieves to try and pressure that bottom turret. So Rift Herald is what you would expect to be in the future here for them. As TL, they notice there's a neutral objective up top, not on the bottom side, and they'll swap themselves up and try to match once again Cody-Sun versus this Doublelift Caitlyn.
Well, we did get to see Team Liquid take the first neutral objective of the game. The next Drake that's going to be spawning is that high-value Infernal Drake. We'll likely see both teams concerned and contesting that as well. Rift Herald alive means this top half of the map could get very spicy very soon. Meteos moving around, taking advantage of the fact that Skarner is adept at soloing these objectives because of his spammable shield, his high damage output with the continued Qs.
They're trying to force
see if Liquid can move in time to stop this. Rift Herald,
they don't have Azir though.
1/3.
Teleport is going in, they're gonna go for it.
All right, Ole gonna be the one soaking the damage here on the front line. Aframu backing himself away now as well. Ornn ulti comes through, but now the suppression down onto the TP. Impact gonna find himself here in the middle of the fight. Cody-Sun caught off to the side, having to jump away. Meteos goes back up the wall. Team Liquid still looking to make something happen onto Someday as Pobelter shuffles Ryu back into the river. Someday still running away. Pobelter in some danger. Multiple health bars all over the place going low, and Liquid finds a kill. 100 Thieves with nothing in response.
A fight that started off by TL with a numbers disadvantage. They end up being the ones who get the kill.
100 Thieves, yeah, they're the ones who had the first start on that teleport, and they start the fight, but in the end, Team Liquid are going to get the kill onto Someday. They're going to get the push under the turret afterwards as well, and that is a huge momentum swing.
What is Shelly doing?
She's chilling, dude.
Shelly's stuck in the river, by the way. I'm not really sure.
She's as confused about that fight as we are. We're going to have to take another look at that one in a second here because 100 Thieves have the TP coming in. It's a 5v4. Pobelter is in the mid lane, still running up. As this starts, they survive for long enough. He is so far away.
Yeah, if you look at the top of the mini-map there, they had the Ornn teleport coming in. Someday cuts off most of Team Liquid, but then they just charge right into the fight and actually break the fight here before Pobelter even made his roam over. But then you have a couple questions about what Pobelter is doing over on this side because he's got 3 members tangled up. Aframu in the end gets him out of there, and during that whole time, Team Liquid were focusing down Someday for the kill.
And we praised 100 Thieves a few minutes ago for being able to find the opportunity to make a proactive play when they were behind and get themselves into a spot where they were in the driver's seat. But Liquid, when it comes down to that micro level of calls, when it comes down to properly navigating the fights, you saw right there how adept these players are at making that happen.
Exactly. Figured out the fight finally. Shelly can now return back to her home, back in the pit. So everything is settled, but 100 Thieves, that was a play that they thought would go their way, and it absolutely did not at the end there. TL able to kind of flank you around it, and now you have to go back to this dragon coming up.
Yeah, we got to keep on looking forward here. The Infernal Drake spawning now, and you have to take into account everybody walking over from the mid lane. Still going to take a while for the DPS to arrive from Team Liquid right now. They are in Fog of War, though.
Aframu is going to be the one who takes the first bit of the aggro. Remember, he does have the ability to become very tanky. Impact now on the front line, going to be looking for some more. Braum ulti comes down. Suppression goes through. Impact going to be taken above, but Cody is lower. Flashing over the wall, trying to stay alive. 1 for 1 so far, making it 1 for 2. Team Liquid coming out on top and winning the rights to the Drake.
Yep, they're going to start up the Infernal immediately afterwards. The ping does go down on the top side. As you can see, though, the minions were pushing for 100 Thieves.
Minions pushing for the Thieves, but it's Liquid that grabs that all-important Infernal Drake. Another big neutral objective going through for them. And 100 Thieves really got to be careful about how they're playing these fights.
Exactly. These team fights going the way of Liquid just barely. It's ever so slightly here. Watch this. It starts off with Liquid getting the jump. They flip Afromu in, but then Olay's ultimate ends up hitting Cody Sun here. Xmithy throws his own into that thick of the fight, and they are just chunking Cody meanwhile, and Impact gets the finish with the poison.
This is 2 back-to-back fights now. Meteos' pull has been used on Impact, and it hasn't resulted in a kill. If Skarner's not pulling somebody to their doom, the team fight's likely not going to go too far in your favor.
That kill on a Cody-san was actually so close because Impact was chugging his corrupting potion. The extra damage was able to finish him off there.
And you can see he's gone for the Rylai's Crystal Scepter here. The Righteous Glory was something we talked about before. This is more, once he's in the fight, slow people down, slow down Cody Sun, wreak havoc, and just run around in these fights like we saw there, where he's another kind of diver that you always have to think about as a backliner. If you're playing front to back, you really have to watch out for this guy because he will displace you. He'll throw you towards his Caitlyn or Azir that are doing massive amounts of damage, and it really does affect these battle lines.
As we move more into the mid game now, that has to be not only on the mind of Cody, but on the mind of everyone in 100 Thieves. You've got an Ornn, you've got a Skarner, you've got this Alistar that should be keeping that Tristana and that Ryze safe. But if Impact is able to just go through there and find his way to them every single time, it's not going to work.
And it buys space for Doublelift, who has a large CS lead right now. He's the most gold in the game.
Yeah, there's definitely a concentration of gold there because of the extra CS. Rift Herald now started up by Team Liquid. They just continue. Force objective after objective. They're trying to push it.
There's no TPs either, so these bottom laners cannot join right now if they wanted to. And you saw Impact had priority. He's already in Fog of War.
Rift Herald goes the way of Team Liquid. That is 3 for 3 neutral objectives under their belts. A 2-1 team objective lead in terms of those turrets. They are currently owning everything about this map. We'll see what they can turn that Rift Herald into here. They've got control over the mid lane. That turret's still standing pretty strong.
Yeah, the last outer here is the mid lane. That would definitely be the next target. There's a lot of defensive vision you can see from 100 Thieves that they've kind of been pushed back into their own territory and all these control wards used to try and stop invades, but that has just meant that Team Liquid continually forcing these outer turrets, these outer objectives in the Dragons as well as the Rift Herald. Meteos is on a ward bottom side for this attempt.
Yeah, Meteos has been pretty hamstrung this game. Impact has kind of had his number with wards, also stopping him from kind of getting around in their own jungle unawares, but Meteos hasn't been able to do too much, especially in these fights too. Like you were saying, Captain Flowers, those pulls have to have a large impact on them, and it just hasn't been there quite yet. We are seeing, though, the Banner of Command here for Someday come out, and it looks like, yeah, Abyssal Mask next. So he's got a lot of MR for himself. He's got ways to kind of deal with this push here, where if he were to get proxied, he could just lay down that cannon minion with a buff and make sure that Impact can't clear it out with Singed.
And one thing you are seeing, though, because Meteos hasn't been able to get the pulls onto one of the 2 value targets of Team Liquid, neither one of those carries really feels the need to pay the Skarner tax yet. Sometimes against these suppression champions, you will see the QSS come out very early, but right now there's no concern about that for either Pobelter or Doublelift.
Exactly. It's so hard to get to them because you have 2 of those Freljord champions, the Sejuani and the Braum for stuns and slows, and then you have the Singed on top of it. So Skarner, it's a difficult task to get to a backline.
There are plenty of forms of initiation, though, available. And we're also going to have to keep our eyes on Olay, this Braum, the Unbreakable. So often we see supports forgetting about the Ornn ultimates, you know, using the Unbreakable for something else, and not having that for the team fight. If an Ornn ultimate comes through and sticks up the whole team, it makes the other members' jobs that much more easy, and Meteos can get one of those pulls.
Yeah, you have to kind of force out that Unbreakable before you throw out that ultimate. So Someday's kind of secondary engage, and you're relying on somebody like Afromu or Meteos to really start these fights.
You can see Ryu pushing up the top side here, just trying to get more map control, more map priority, shove this lane up, make Pobelter answer that. He'll summon up that special Sun Disc to help him defend that, but Impact, no fear this game, just continually causing that pressure in the side lane, pushing this up here as well.
And they're waiting for an opportunity to use that Rift Herald from Xmithy. He still has that, remember, and that could reward them with a turret here. And especially with Baron in 45 seconds, more priority means more likelihood that you're able to get that objective.
And right now, where 100 Thieves would want to make a counter move would possibly be when Team Liquid are spread out with Pobelter very far away. Because their advantage in mobility is in the Rise on the side lane versus an Azir in the side lane. You can see Pobelter there just roamed up to answer a minion wave, but during that timeline, Team Liquid cover the weakness. They have Impact join the rest of the squad for disengage, so they're not allowing the opening that 100 Thieves would want to try and take advantage of. And here comes the Rift Herald activation in order to get the mid turret.
Yeah, remember, she takes off that backdoor bonus, so they're treating her like a minion. They're going to run up with her as 5 members strong in the mid lane for TL and crack that mid turret.
Rift Herald taking down the mid turret creates a pathway for Liquid to now rotate into another objective. The Drake spawning here in 20 seconds. The Baron just now going live. Liquid decides it's time to reset and be ready for those.
Again, especially when watching both of these two teams, it's so much about the preparation for these plays. Impact was just pushing on the bottom side with his Rylai's Crystal Scepter. They prep that wave, then move up for the Rift Herald activation. They have now timed their recalls so that they can get back out onto the field in time for that Drake. Heading through, again, there's no deep vision for 100 Thieves, so Team Liquid get there just in time.
Coming into the discussion on this game, talked about how neither of these teams wins explosively early when we heard win conditions from the desk and kind of how that's going to be played out. So you don't expect either of these two to really get off to one of those crazy starts where they're just running over the entirety of the game. But now as we crest the 20-minute mark, as we get further in, we're going to start to see these two settle onto what the tempo of the game will look like from here on out, potentially.
And both of these teams have had intelligent macro moves at different points in this game. You know, Team Liquid leveraged the early power of Double Lift on this Caitlyn in the huge CS lead, but 100 Thieves then went for the first blood, the first turret with their swap. Ever since then, though, Team Liquid have been on every single objective.
And looking forward, 100 Thieves, they have a 1-3-1 composition. So the macro for them is something they're going to have to tap into here. Like you were saying, Kobe, when Pobelter's in a side lane trying to answer the Rise, that's a large advantage for them. So 100 Thieves are looking to kind of pull apart the Team Liquid composition with a 1-3-1 when they can. But TL, they're really good in team fights. They have these two big hyper carries with the Azir and the Caitlyn, and right now Double Lift even has a Zeke's convergence behind him to amp his damage.
And the difference of the completed Infinity Edge is huge on him because of the CS lead that they had from the early game. Right now is a big power spike for the Caitlyn.
Yeah, when you look at the items completed on the side of Team Liquid, you've got your Nashor's Tooth, plus the Haunting guys there for Pobelter. Double Lift having those 2 crit synergy items like you were already mentioning with the Caitlyn. This team's at a point where they're very scary in a team fight.
Cody says, he finished his. I want mine
I gotta
now.
do mine.
He's able to go get his, and the Infinity Edge is now completed. But they already started the push.
And you can see Impact on the side threatening, forcing Cody Sun to play more towards the north here and away from him.
Push
and there's an
comes
engage.
through, but there you go. Immediately shutting it down with the Unbreakable 100 Thieves. Looking to isolate something here, maybe go after Impact yet again, but they're not going to use the Skarner ulti on that Singe. They've learned their lesson from the previous fights.
That's why I like what Zyrene was saying. The order of your initiation tools is very important for the 100 Thieves. They have to do something to try and get Olay to blow that spell before Ornn ult is used, or use it in an area where he can't easily take it out. Otherwise, get it put to a stop very quickly.
Yeah, you could see the thought process there. Ryu was coming in from the side to potentially root. Afromu looked like he was about to walk up, but got slowed, and they grab Sejuani, they grab it Smithy.
Meteos decides this is the pull, this is the play, this is the initiation, and they find the enemy jungler.
And again, Afromu and Meteos, they have had so many combinations this year. This time, he pulls them into the tower range for the headbutt further in to the tower, and they get the kill onto the front line.
And I like how he headbutts him, then flashes and Qs, because if you headbutt Q, they aren't going to go as far. Wants him really deep under that turret.
And there's no escape for him after that. So an important kill on the jungler, and now 100 Thieves are trying to move out and regain some of the vision control, which they'll use to try and set up.
It's not just about the kill, it's about what the kill means. What can you get? What do you translate this into in terms of your standing on the map? These teams only 500 gold apart now, means every little advantage you can find is going to be huge. Afromu eats some damage there, getting down some wards in Liquid territory.
Exactly. I mean, everyone always talks about the Caitlyn scaling among AD carries, but Tristana, no joke, and the range is also getting up there as well. So here's another look at it. Meteos with the pull, Afromu with the follow-up right there, and they get the dunk.
no way out of some chain CC like that between Skarner and Alistar. As long as they layer it correctly, you're going to be stuck there a while.
Yeah, the idea there from McSmithy looked like he was going to walk through mid because he saw one of the members of 100 Thieves in about that midpoint near that tier 1 turret. Potential flank, potential setup, but they caught him red-handed looking for that.
Always nice to see those two veterans working together on this new squad. Right now, though, fighting over the control wards. That's something we've seen quite a few supports lose their lives over.
And Ornn is flanking right now, and they see Pobelter top. This is the opportunity.
Here it comes. Ornn going through, able to find a little bit of control through that one. Devil's going to be in some trouble. Knocked up into the air. Damage coming through. Devil taken down. And Cody Sun delivers the kill shot. What else can the Thieves find, though? Right now, they'll move towards Baron.
That was amazing from Someday, just sniping double lift right there on the side. They're able to get the knockups. Cody Sun doesn't hesitate to jump right in, and they get the kill. Baron is started up.
Talking about no hesitation, this is the kind of play this team wants to make. They're going for Baron. They've got him down to half. Afromu coming around from the side, the shuffle backwards, looking to disengage, and the suppression comes through, and Pobelter is dragged down. Team Liquid stands 3 versus 5, and 100 Thieves head right back into the pit.
They still have to worry about Smithy smiting this. They don't have vision just yet. Ole is trying to get some here.
Baron, 1/4 HP, very, very low. Smithy wanting to go over the wall.
Oh,
He's Smithy with the steal!
Oh my god, and he gets out! Cody Sun's chasing him, but it's actually Team Liquid who steal from the 100 Thieves!
What a play from the veteran jungler of Team Liquid. The laugh that you hear from Impact Singed is the laugh that Liquid is feeling after that one. That is how you save a disaster.
Watch Afromu. He's not able to headbutt him because he's grounded by Impact's acid. He throws down the mega adhesive, so you can't headbutt during that time.
What a play right there. Barry heads up. They're able to make it happen. Smithy, after all that, also is able to time the smite. And Baron now for Team Liquid.
And you saw the look on Meteos' face there, as now 100 Thieves might be able to find the pick that keeps this Baron play at bay. Cody Sun has the damage to pick Ole off there, and that is big for slowing this down.
100 Thieves do not give up. They continue to force plays here, and now they're back at it.
100 Thieves once again in the driver's seat. Ornn comes through. Pobelter knocked up into the air, having to flash away, keeping himself alive. Afromu taken down. Double's got the damage. He's out of there. And Liquid responds.
Smithy gonna get the slows here onto Someday. Will they chase him down? Impact coming through.
Cody Sun's at half HP for this fight. 100 Thieves needs to be very mindful of that. Liquid still looking to maybe find their opportunity. Impact on the side.
And they still have the Baron buff, so they still have so many options.
Yeah, now they're going to be able to go straight towards that Ocean Drake. They got the mid priority, and now they have all 5 members back up. Ole is on his way.
Yep, double left, he just pushed that mid lane minion wave. They get the objective, and now they can switch back.
4 for 4 elemental drakes for Team Liquid. You talk about win conditions, 35 minutes rolls around. That could be a big one. Let's take another look at the pick potentially onto Pobelter.
Afromu goes in, but it's the cleanse flash there, and he also gets his ultimate off after he gets chunked for about half his HP.
Pobelter with another escape here on the Azir. And they're able to salvage a couple of Baron buffs still alive for themselves as well.
But they get triple Ocean. This means they can stay out on the map. And when you're baiting Barons back and forth, this is actually such a great buff to have.
Fantastic buff to have for these guys. They're still up 1,000 gold, 80 carries. We talked about how important both these guys are for their teams. They're both at that 3-item power spike these champions are known for. And Team Liquid sets up the line. They make the siege. They take the tier 2. They've got 55 seconds left to pressure onto the inhibitor turrets.
Now watch on the outside for the trap line here, as well as the mega adhesive to try and deny the engagement from 100 Thieves.
Meteos, no flash available on this Skarner. Does have Predator up.
Yeah.
No Righteous Glory in the build this time around. Went for Knight's Vow instead.
And there's no dematerializers, so this cannon minion is just actually, they're trying to get aggro. You see it's hitting Meteos right now, and he's happy with that because it's not hitting the turret. But now the next wave shows up, and they're just going to knock this inhibitor turret down at 28.5 minutes.
Cannon minion MVP. Now Team Liquid, still 20 seconds left on the Baron buff. Moves themselves into position onto the inhibitor. Managing to go for the throw. Trying to get Someday there into the middle. They pick him off. Meteos through the side. Now going to be isolated himself. Taken down. And Team Liquid would win right here. A double kill for double lift.
Pobelter Counter sweeps in Cody Sun, and they take down the AD carry, and they're still pushing.
Yeah, they had the Baron buff. They have the Baron buffed up minion. It just falls off the cannon. There they go.
Everybody's ready to go. The TP used to keep the minion alive. Nexus turret #1 under fire. It is taken down. They're still looking to force the fight. 5 versus 2. Ryu's looking to hold on, but cannot do it. The Thieves are out, and Liquid will take game #1. What an incredible push off of an even more incredible Baron steal.
29.5 minutes in. Team Liquid will go up 1-0.
And off of an incredible team play performance around objectives, the team fighting came up key. That looked like a 100 Thieves Baron guaranteed, but the small micro decisions from Impact comboed with a Smithy, lands in the Baron, and then they take it all the way home.
Yeah, you can do as many things to set up your jungler to hit that smite. You know, deny the exit there from the Alistar, trying to headbutt him away, try and get him a space, an opening in there. He actually didn't even hit the blast cone over, but once he got in there, hits the smite, and you know it's such a big difference for Team Liquid.
No matter how much you set up, no matter how much you prepare the field for what it's going to be, at the end, it's 50-50. It's your smite versus theirs, and Smithy showing why he's one of those veteran junglers, what that experience can do for you in those clutch moments, and it makes the difference in this game 1. Absolutely just what you want to see from a guy like this in this kind of position. But to hear more about how Team Liquid picked up game #1, let's send it over to the State Farm Analyst Desk. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We had a slow start to the game, but it absolutely exploded as Team Liquid comes away with the first victory in our best of 5. We're also welcoming Hooney to the desk after his crushing 3-0 victory yesterday against Clutch Gaming. Hooney, how does it feel to be in Miami? How does it feel to be watching this best of 5 right now?
Yeah, it really was happy to watch finals in Miami because, you know, I also really thank for that, you know, Riot gave me opportunity for the analyst task for the finals, you know.
It's a big honor, I understand.
Well, I mean, Zale had predicted 100 Thieves, right? And
I mean, obviously, that's why I was not here. That's what I gotta say. Because my prediction was Team Liquid, you know?
So is that, can I lock in your prediction right now? You're saying Team Liquid is gonna win this best of 5?
Pretty sure.
Pretty sure. Well, game 1 victory is a good way to kick it off. But gentlemen, let's dive right into this with Champion Select. Let's throw it up on the board because we had a lot of questions around how the meta would develop around these two teams. The first thing I want to point out is the Ornn versus Singed in the top lane. There are questions around whether or not teams would pivot around Ornn. And hey, if Impact's got Singed as the answer, it looks pretty good.
It's one of those things where it felt like Team Liquid kind of played 100 Thieves. They give up the Rise to get the Azir because they want a strong 5v5. Then they take the Braum before the Ornn because it's such a good counter, and they know 100 Thieves likes Ornn. And then they also have the Singe counter pick prepared. I don't know if you feel like it's a counter pick based off that laning phase.
Yeah, for sure the Singe is not like, you know, blindable. You know, I was playing actually in practice Ornn versus Singe. I was like killing Singe when like all the game went as an Ornn like level 3, level 4. Like only time Ornn can have like something priority that is like pre-6. As everyone see the, you know, all the game was Someday was actually beating you know, the Impact Singed.
Right.
Especially Someday's like really good at lane phase. At the same time he got really good matchup. Like that's why it looked really good.
Yeah, but the thing that happened in the mid game was just Singed teleporting into ridiculous situations and then proccing Aftershock with ult on and just running away. Like, you expected Impact to die when he completed that TP, partially because Cody Sun was zoned out, but also just because Singed has a lot of innate resistances. They kind of win what was a really weird-looking fight.
Yeah, and he hadn't had a completed item yet, so I think all of us were watching like, oh, he's going to be in trouble. And then he continued to have really huge impacts in this team fight, especially chasing down onto Cody Sun to make sure he gets that final kill.
Yeah, eating Skarner ults pretty much every team fight, still pumping out a lot of damage. And then on top of that, with all the attention that he had drawn in the top lane, the double of Caitlyn in the bottom lane did actually accrue a big advantage. But this steal right here was game deciding.
Yeah, I mean, this steal was insane from Impact play too, because he put doubly on Alistar mixture. I think I was assuming that like 100 Thieves was coming like, please block with the Alistar Sage, and like actually Impact pressed only really well.
Yeah, providing crucial vision for Xmithie to get in there, get the smite steal, get out. With that Baron buff, they're able to push forward towards a clean victory, ending the game in 29-33.
And Dash, this fight was really strange for me. It's like 100 Thieves really wanted to save their inhibitors, so they engaged an awkward 5v5.
Ooh, that
and
was
kind of
slick.
got wrecked. Like, by the time Someday died, Mito should actually just abandon that flank and give up the inhibitor, but they were kind of losing late game anyway. It just had an accelerated
You
finish.
can just see the explosiveness of this game, though, because for so long, up to about that 20-minute mark, we saw little skirmishes here or there, but nothing necessarily game-deciding. It was in that last 5 to 10 minutes of the game that we really saw it break open. And taking a look at the damage being pumped out by Doublelift there on that Caitlyn continues to return me to that question we had at the beginning of the day. Where will the priority be placed on that pick with two very, very crucial ADCs to both of their squads?
Absolutely. The Zyra Khan went through the entire draft, so we were talking about Zyra Khan versus Caitlyn Morgana. Didn't actually end up seeing that, so now there's this big question mark around a lot of these picks and what will continue to be priority, because Orin got taken advantage of. Some of the things we thought would be first pick, maybe not so much.
I mean, so where's the solution here for 100 Thieves? I'm coming to you first, Tooney, because we just talked about how there was a lot of focus to the top side of the map because of that Ornn and because of that Singed. Does 100 Thieves have to choose to leave someday on an island and focus somewhere else on the map?
Be honest, like in my opinion, like pretty sure like I would say Team Liquid is like slightly better, has a ball lane. Like as you guys see, actually 2v2, like 100 was kind of playing from behind against like Kate Braum. Like it could be the like matchup, but actually they play really well from Team Liquid. So that's why like I would say I think they should use a someday priority, which is like also I would say Impact early lane phase was not like clean as much as a someday. So if they actually use priority through from top to through mid and through bot, then they will have like a lot advantage. That's how I gotta say for Strength Force 100 Thieves.
And Mark, you kind of mentioned right at the top of the segment the idea that Team Liquid gave 100 Thieves everything they knew they wanted, but with prepared counter picks. So again, if you're in 100 Thieves position, you say we got everything we want, but we didn't win the game. Where do you adapt?
I mean, so obviously when you lose the smite steal like that, that's a good way to adapt.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
let's get that. Yeah. But mine, aside from that, I think the early game play style did work towards Team Liquid. We were talking about let Impact kind of run around and be an idiot and draw all this pressure so you can get that isolated 2v2, and you saw that massive CS lead. And eventually, 100 Thieves had a really nice lane swap to get out of that and take top turret, but they were forced to do that because of how bad bot lane was going already.
Now with that, Jat, the game time came in at 29:33, so we actually narrowly missed getting underneath that 29-25 mark. So we still have, the overs are feeling good right now, but based on that, it does suggest we could have some accelerated games. I got another fun stat for you. The total cumulative game time of yesterday's 3-game series, Hooney, I don't know if you know this, you guys won in 75 minutes and 36 seconds.
Do you know how fast that is?
Do you have any idea how crushing that is?
I don't know.
That's 17 and a half minutes faster than any playoff series we've ever had in the history of the NALCS.
Was that?
It's insane. That's insane. So my question is, depending on how this next game goes, do we think that 2 games of this series can be longer than 3 games of yesterday's series?
I don't think anyone's going to be as dominant as Hooney.
I think that 45 minutes, so I'm going to still say that
you're
2
still
games
going to go under.
series.
All right, so TL swapping over to blue side this time around. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit more about how might draft play out in game number 2.
I thought 100 Thieves had a lot of flexibility in the bans. I think the Tom Kench and the Gangplank bans, I'm a little questionable on those, and they actually lose a lot of flexibility when they go to red side. I think it's going to be advantage Team Liquid in this draft phase. They can very easily first pick Caitlyn, and they don't really care what they give up. Even if there's a 2 out of 3 jungle pinch, they showed in that game they're effective with the Sejuani against something like a Skarner. So I think Team Liquid's feeling really pretty, and they're going to go for that first pick Caitlyn if it's not banned.
The question I have was some of the bans were a little weird, like the GP ban out of 100 Thieves when Impact doesn't seem to have a big priority on that champion. I would wonder if Hooney thinks that this is something that they should continue to ban, or moving to red side, drop it.
I mean, as GP of the grandfather,
the original.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, I think it seems like both top laner doesn't have that much confidence to play actually GP on the stage, because it's really hard to actually play GP perfectly. Like, as you know, like when you play against tank, like when you play tank, like, even though you kind of mess up, like you can always like bring another stuff because you have so much stuff to actually being stable as a lane. But GP is like really, really risky that like if you mess up once, then you keep messing up. Like,
Tank's being more forgiving than GP. So there's some thoughts ahead of game number 2. A reminder that MSI tickets are available for purchase. Get yours to see today's winner battle it out in 2018's first international tournament. For now, though, we're stepping away. When we return, it's game 2 of Team Liquid versus 100 Thieves.
A 1v4 under turret. Meteos has everything available here on the Skarner. The damage coming in, the dive going through, Impact flashing away, still looking to maybe survive. Cody Sun with the damage. Pack now on the front line, gonna be looking for some more. Braum ulti comes down.